Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Fiio Audio Jade Audio JT7, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Fiio Audio for providing the JT7 for a review. Greatly appreciate it. Fiio Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Fiio Audio Jade Audio JT7. This will set you back $110 from your bank account, and it is a over-ear headphone. It has a 95mm by 86mm planar driver with a silver-plated aluminum alloy voice coil diaphragm and the Fiio Elastic System, or FES. It has 18 ohms of impedance, 92 decibels of sensitivity, and a frequency response range of 7 Hz to 40 kHz. The Fiio Audio Jade Audio JT7 comes in this very small white box. I can't recall a planar headphone coming in a box this small. Most planars that come in for review or that I have purchased are in boxes that are about at least 3 times the size of this. So this is really a shock that they're able to get a planar headphone inside this. So the box is white. You get a picture here in the front, a little bit of branding, and we have a high-res sticker. It's got to sound good. On the back side, you have a little bit more branding, some more information, a little bit of branding on the sides. On the inside, you have an area for your headphones to sit and some accessories and a user manual. Nothing special whatsoever about the unboxing experience about the JT7. Set that to the side. Accessories. You get a velour bag, little cinch, and this bag is going to protect dust and cat hair, that kind of thing. It's not really going to protect your headphones if they accidentally drop or get banged around. Then you get 2 cables. Both of them are the same length, and they are an okay cable for the price point. All rubber, kind of the flatter design. You have your 3.5 inputs, a plastic split, no cinch, and then it terminates into a 3.5 with a 1/4 inch adapter. It is not a screw-on 1/4 inch. It is just a click on and off 1/4 inch adapter, 3.5 with 3.5 terminations. And then the other cable terminates into 4.4. One thing of note is they do both have this little loop type of cable management, which is attached on. You can remove it, but I find it to be quite useful and easy to use. You just loop it in place and it holds your cable. So I like that. Overall, cable is okay. They're not the most premium feeling, but they're usable. They kind of remind me of like Sennheiser HD580 cables, kind of feel that same type of material. Functional, not the prettiest looking things, but they work. And then you get the JT7. Now the JT7 is actually quite nicely built, in my opinion. Even though it's mostly plastic, it feels quite durable. And, you know, I've already mentioned Sennheiser when it comes to the cables. If you're familiar with Sennheiser feel for like the HD600s and 650s, things like that, this is kind of the same feel as far as plastic. It feels pretty durable. It's not quite as nice as a Sennheiser looking, you know, with like the blues and things like that, but it still is a decent looking headphone in my opinion. You get a metal grate here for your faceplate, and then you have metal along the headband. It does have a couple unique features. Like Sennheiser, it does have a removable little pad up here top, and it's held down by Velcro. You just pull it. You can clean it off. You can exchange it. It is, you know, nicely built. I do like the idea of having Velcro there. And then they fold. I can't think of too many planar headphones or even over-ear headphones of this size that fold, especially ones that are not Bluetooth. The way that it folds is just very easy. You can do it either way, and it just sits. And then they also swivel very nicely. They're mostly quiet for the most part. There's just a little bit of noise, but pretty quiet considering that they are a foldable headphone. You got plastic here, plastic on the yokes, and then plastic around the ear cup. Faceplate is metal. Ear pads are replaceable and removable. I did not take them on or off. I like the stock pads, so I left them on there. Speaking of stock pads, very plush, nice and cushy. Leather on the outside, and then like a fabric mesh type of material here, and then leather on the inside of the cups. They are kind of like fenestrated on the inside. It's really hard to see on camera. And then there's no fenestration on the outside. There is a slight little bit of an angle as well to them, and I find them to be extremely comfortable. The ear holes are just big enough for my ears lengthwise and widthwise. They're not the largest of ear pads, but they are big enough. And I have had over ears that are smaller that still fit. So these are okay. I just wish they had a little bit more room, but it's also part of the oval shape. And as you can see, there's L and R inside there. The slider is a little bit on the noisy side, but it does expand out quite big. So you can get it to fit most sizes of heads fairly easily, I would think. They fit mine fairly well. I have to put them on the 4th setting down for them to be comfy. And they just pop on the head, and they're extremely comfortable. Isolation of outside noises, yeah, it doesn't exist. These are open ear headphones, and I find them to be pretty much not blocking anything. Maybe they're a decibel or two less of noise isolation. It really doesn't block anything out. You can definitely carry on conversations while music's playing as long as it's not super loud. And these do leak a lot of sound when your music is playing. People around you will definitely hear, even at lower volumes. One thing of note, when I first got these, they were extremely tight on the head. They took a little while to loosen up a little bit here on the headband, and for the cushioning up here to kind of break in a little bit. It was a little stiff. Once all of that kind of settled in, and the ear pads kind of softened up just a little bit, they became extremely comfortable. I'm able to wear these now for several hours at a time. When I first got them, it was about half hour, 40 minutes, and I had to take a break because they were putting some pressure on. But now that they've kind of worn in just a little bit through the review process, they've become extremely comfortable. The Fiio Jade Audio JT7. 18 ohms of impedance, 92 decibels sensitivity. Not the easiest headphone to drive. They will kind of be run off of portable devices, especially USB-C dongles. You'll get them loud, but they definitely aren't being driven properly. Now, some of the more powerful dongles, things that have around 500 milliwatts or more, will definitely do better, and I'm glad that Fiio has included a balanced 4.4 cable for that purpose. But you're going to want to use something with some juice to it to power the JT7. They are somewhat power hungry. Now, are these the most power hungry planar headphones that I've used? No. But they definitely sound better when given more power. So I highly recommend using these, especially on desktop gear, is where they perform their best and are more optimal. Using them with the USB-C dongle, especially lower end, lower power dongles, is kind of a suboptimal performance from the JT7. So I preferred them on the desk, and that is about 95% of my listening was right here at the desk behind me. And I use them mostly with the Mytek Liberty DAC2 and Mytek HPA, the K19, the K19 from Fiio, the Fiio K9 AKM also was used. A SMSL and drop HO150X was used as well, with various other DACs that I tested out. And I found that the more power that you gave to it, the more the JT7 rewarded you. In what way did they reward me? How do the Fiio Audio Jade Audio JT7 sound? So I didn't really know what to expect, when I got the JT7 in for review, and I was like, it's $110 planar headphone. Some of the more budget planar headphones I've heard in the past haven't truly impressed. Is Fiio going to surprise me, or is it going to just be another one of those ho-hum, it's a budget planar over-ear? And I am going to spoil the rest of the review by saying Fiio surprised me and has hit it out of the ballpark with the JT7. The bass of the JT7 is amazingly good. It's nice and linear, extends into the sub bass. You get some nice rumble and grumble in the mid bass. There's good texture, and there's just a lot of details and very good resolution and nice tone and timbre. Overall, I found that the bass has enough of the engaging side of things while also being very detailed and resolving and nice and analytical. It has this neutral linearity all the way from the upper bass to the sub bass region. It extends nicely. You get that rumble and grumble when called upon in a track. It's not always there, and it's not always the most present, but you do get it when it's evident in a track. And then the mid bass has nice punch, a nice kick, and it has a nice deepness to the sound, and it reaches down in, but yet at the same time, it's not like this overly impactful, super prominent type of bass. It's just very well controlled, very detailed, and it has a pleasureness to it, and a fullness, and an engagement factor without taking away from the rest of all the information in the bass. There's good details and resolution and nice natural tonality. Overall, it's a very engaging, controlled bass. Then the mids. The mid-range of the JT7 has a slight forwardness to it in the upper mid-range. It's not a super prominent, forced, shouty type of forwardness. It's more of a, I'm going to put a little bit of a spotlight on the mid-range. And everything just kind of comes around, comes into focus more in the mid-range. Vocalists sound like they have this special little spotlight on them, and you can just envision them being surrounded by the orchestra or by the band or on the stage, and everything's around them, but yet they have the microphone, they have the spotlight, and everybody's eyes are on the vocalist. Same thing with instruments that are doing solos, or instruments that are in a prominent way in the mix. There's a little spotlight on them, and they have just enough forwardness to capture your attention, but not to be dominant and to be the prominent focus. They are the highlighted focus, not the I'm the only one here, even though everybody else is around. It's not that way. The mid-range has nice tonality to it. It's very natural sounding, and there's a nice fullness to it without being too heavy and without being too light. Overall, the mid-range just engages you and captures the moment and gives you a good picture of everything going on in the stage, and keeping it balanced while putting the spotlights on the areas that need to be spotlighted in a track. And I find that it has just enough clarity and enough air and space in between vocalists and instruments, and everything just kind of plays together, and yet it complements the bass at the same time. And then going into the treble has enough sparkle and edge and energy, and there's a good bite and crispness to it without it being too forthright and too much. It walks that line of there it is and there it isn't. It has that nice balance and cohesion, and it matches up perfectly with the mid-range and the bass, and it complements it very well. It extends nicely into the uppers, and there's good air and space. And I just find that the tonality of the treble is nicely controlled and a very naturally presented. Doesn't have moments of fatigue, but also it's not boring. It walks that line, and it's just a very cohesive, natural sounding treble. So I find that the bass, the mids, and the treble of the JT7 are extremely well done, and they just work together very cohesively and are nicely balanced with that slightly forwardness in the mid-range that kind of puts the spotlight on the instruments or the vocalist that is kind of taking the track and being the focal point of the track at the moment. Soundstage of the JT7. This isn't the most wide, expansive soundstage ever, but for an open back planar, it does a really good job of showing you small, medium, and large. And then when a grand stage shows up, you kind of get that open space sound, and it does a really good job with live recordings. I found that the JT7 has just the ability to tell you what kind of size the stage is: small, medium, large, or hey, let's get out bigger stadiums and arenas and big wide open spaces when called upon. It also has pretty good depth and layering. It's not the deepest of stages, but you can look into the stage a couple rows. And then layering wise, things don't get confused or muddled, and they're not getting crowded out and pushed in and out on each other. It does a really good job in that regard of giving everything its own little space. And then tracking things across the stage is also very good. Things enter and exit very well. You don't lose them all of a sudden, and they don't appear all of a sudden. Things merge in and merge out correctly, and they move across the stage. It's pretty pinpoint accurate. You can really go, that's right there. Oh, it moved over here. Oh, that's there. That moved there. Oh, they crossed over each other. They moved around. It does a really good job at that. The only times that I noticed that it kind of got a little bit harder to differentiate that and to distinct that out was on more complex and busier tracks. At times they could get a little bit fuzzy or hazy in their direction, and they weren't quite as pinpoint. But for the most part, I found that the staging and the imaging and the placement was very, very good on the JT7. I also found that the detail retrieval is really good. We're talking $110 headphone here, and I found that I wasn't searching for anything. It was all right there. It does a very good job of retrieving the information and then revealing it. It resolves the details very well. I never had any moments of going, I always hear that. Why am I hearing it? It was always there. And there were even times when I go, wow, I don't normally hear it placed that well, especially in this price point. And so this does a really good job with its details and resolution. It's very refined, defined, and focused. And then tone and timbre is very natural sounding. I had no moments of going, ooh, what was that? Everything sounded accurate and true, very natural and very correct. I was rather impressed at how natural this planar headphone sounds, especially considering it's $110. So the Fiio Jade JT7, $110, really impressed me. And as I was listening to it, I started thinking about, what does this remind me of? And I started looking around my room, and I started to see all the headphones I have on the walls. And I was like, I don't have any headphone, especially a planar headphone that's open back, that's in this price point. And most of my planar headphones that are cheaper are double the price, triple the price, quadruple the price, or more. And so, I was like, I really don't have anything fair to compare it to. And it doesn't really remind me of any of these other Planars that I have. So what has it reminded me of? And the more that I looked around the room and I started listening to other headphones, a headphone from my past that I have loved for years just kept coming back to me and saying, this is kind of like this. It's a better version of it in some ways, but it reminds me of the Sennheiser HD580 Precision. Now, the JT7 has better bass. It extends better. It has more impact, punch, and slam. Bass on the 580 Precision isn't as good. It's still there. It still has a little punch kick to it, but it's not the focal point of the 580. Bass isn't what you go for a 580 for. Now, mids is where you look at the 580. And just like the JT7, it has this forwardness to it. It kind of pushes things forward just a little bit, but it never is the prominent forwardness. I'm in your face type of forwardness. It's more of there's a spotlight. And just like the JT7, the 580 Precision does that. And that's what captured me when I was listening to the JT7 is the presentation of the 580 Precision is that way with its mids and its trebles extended, has a little bit more airiness to it. And I found that the soundstage on the JT7 is bigger than the 580 Precision, but that imaging and that layering and the depth is very, very similar to what the 580 Precision is. And the 580 Precision is known for that. And the JT7 does it. It might even do it slightly better. And then detail retrieval and resolution. The detail retrieval is very similar. Resolution is slightly better on the JT7. Tone and timbre, I have to give the hand to the 580 Precision as it's just a little bit more natural sounding. Being a dynamic headphone, it just has just a little bit more fullness to it and a little bit more naturalism, especially with stringed instruments. But the JT7 isn't far behind. And in a lot of ways, the JT7 outperforms the 580 Precision, but it reminds me of it in the presentation. And so I'm really surprised at how much I enjoy the Fiio Jade JT7. This thing for $110 has just blown my mind. And if you're looking for an introduction into planar headphones, here you go, 110 bucks. If you're looking for a planar headphone that is really good and is really hard to beat until you get well beyond this price point, JT7. This thing is going on the wall and it's going to stick there for a long time. I like this a lot and I highly recommend it. The Fiio Audio Jade Audio JT7. This is the HD580 Precision of Planars. I'm Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next videos, somewhere on the screen, subscription links and notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information on there regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support channel. Speaking of supporting channel, I want to thank my supporters who are YouTube members and one-time gifts. Thank you very much for all that you give to the channel. It's much appreciated. If you're interested in the channel, check out the links down below. There's also all kinds of other information like gear rankings, music recommendations, gear rankings, gear recommendations, all that kind of stuff is listed down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is best policy.